All right. Courtney and Ben, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this for me and for the stamp school. What I'd like to do is have you tell us a little bit about who you are and your career path. And Courtney, let's start with you.
Sure. Thank you for having us. It's so great to pay it forward. Hi to everyone. So, my name is Courtney. I graduated Stamps in 2019. I chose when I was at Stamps to really pursue printmaking and textiles and found that I really loved textile design. And that's what I thought I wanted to do forever. So, I got my first role as a textile designer outside of college and it was really wonderful. I worked at Tommy Hilfiger on their licensing team and helped do the prints and patterns for their homeware, sleepwear, and intimates. It was a really fulfilling experience, but COVID naturally rocked the industry. And I took that as a moment to look at things a little bit differently and decided to pursue accessories design instead. So now at my current company, I've been working as an accessories designer, designing everything from hats and gloves to belts to jewelry, and finally landing at handbags where I am now. So it's been a wild ride, but a lot of fun along the way.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you, Courtney. And Ben, a little bit about you and your journey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. This is very cool. I I feel like my career path is a little unconventional. I didn't really know. I like to do everything at school. I guess my thesis was about branding. I made a brand about my grandfather is kind of like very academic, very like cerebral. Like it was about him, but it manifested in the clothes. And I started freelancing for this company called Bravado, which is owned by Universal Music. It's basically their merchandising arm of the music label. So any licensing moment, whether it be in retail or when artists go on tour, if they sell stuff on their website, Bravado basically does all the creative, the production of it, and everything that the artist needs to make their t-shirts. And I was there for, well, I kind of parlayed it into a job after work, after school, and I worked there for almost 6 years. And then I went to Live Nation. They have a similar company called Merch Traffic. I was there for a year, and I got an offer to work at Kith, the New York clothing brand, about a year and a half ago. So I've been there since. So I guess the through line really is like t-shirts and apparel graphics. And yeah, that's where I am now.
So for everybody who's watching this, this is so fascinating. If you go to the Career YouTube channel, Andre Thomas is an alum who we interviewed for the From Here to There series, and he started his own branded clothing line called Layup, Live at Your Own Pace. So Ben, I just hear echoes of Andre as we talk about what you're doing because everything with him was about t-shirts and now he has his own line. So very cool. I love it. Um, let's talk a bit about the subject today. What are employers really looking for? Again, on the YouTube channel, we have the employer's perspective. We interviewed two Stamps alums who founded their own creative agencies. But today's theme is what are they looking for from the job seeker's perspective? And so my first question, and I'll pick on Ben first this time. When I ask you what are employers really looking for, what immediately comes to mind for you?
They're looking for 3 to 5 years of experience. I'm kidding. That was a joke. I feel like when I was looking for a job, every job I wanted to do asked for 3 to 5 years of experience, and it drove me crazy. Um, but I think what they're looking for are people that are prepared and just really excited and willing to do whatever work there is to be done. I mean, working professionally as a designer, there's a lot of stuff that might seem mundane, but has to get done. And it's kind of a part of the like upward trajectory and the ladder of working. So I think the way I kind of approached it was I will do whatever to be in the place with other people who have been doing it for much longer than me, to learn from them and to move up that ladder. But yeah, just being prepared and yeah, willing
Yeah,
to do that.
prepared, passionate, willing is what I heard there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, Courtney, what immediately comes to mind for you?
Yeah, kind of similarly, I would say like being able to adapt, being able to try new things, kind of being like a yes person. That's what got me, my job and got me to stay at my job is to be so open to trying new things, whether it be like learning Excel, which is not super fun, but is necessary, or, like learning how to design a handbag. It really varies a lot, like what you're going to be doing. So just being able to say yes and go with the flow is really important.
Yeah, adaptability and willingness again. I love it. Thank you guys so much. So what do you think specifically sets you apart, and how do you get that across to a potential employer? And Courtney, will pick up where you left off. What do you think can set you apart?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me personally, what I find sets me most apart is that adaptability and being able to work on so many different things. And I think being able to communicate that with your portfolio is really important. Like showing that you have done this side project where you made a pair of overalls and it was really fun for you. And like just being able to demonstrate your openness based on what you've done through visuals is really helpful, I find.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I tell students when I'm looking at their portfolios is the importance of context. Not just what you were doing, why you were doing it, and the process. So I think when you're thinking about what sets me apart, if you wanted to be willingness to learn new things, you could incorporate that into the brief context
Mm-hmm.
for the images. That's great. I love that. Ben, what do you think sets you apart, and how can you communicate that?
I think what sets this is like the proverbial you, or is it like
Job seeker you.
I think just being I guess being true to what you like and having that conveyed in the work that you do. I think that when when I was in college, all I really did, I went to school, obviously, and I really just listened to music and cared about music and the packaging of it. And well, the t-shirts were, I love that. And I just knew a lot about it because I really liked it, not because I thought I, I could get a job doing it. I just really liked it. And when I met people that did it, you kind of fall into place based off what you like. I think if you're developing a portfolio from the start, thinking about what you like and what's in your life and making work about that, I think will come across as really, really thorough and really honest and really just really passionate. And I think that those things like passion and excitement are what can set you apart to someone you're interviewing with.
Yeah, being authentically what you are, I
Yeah.
think is what you're capturing there. I love that. Yay. All right. So when I talk to students, I describe the three pillars of the job search, and they are effective materials, networking, and perseverance. What am I leaving out? And Ben, let's pick up where you left off. What am I leaving out?
You're missing luck. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's a huge component. You're absolutely right. Be in the right place at the right time.
But because I actually think the real answer is timing. I think that just being one of the pillars was preparedness, right? No, perseverance.
Materials, networking, perseverance. Yeah.
But being prepared and having everything together, your resume, portfolio, the spiel about yourself, when the job comes up, it's about being there and making the impression and doing it. So I really think timing. I think things will work themselves out, but just being there at the right place in the right time is
Yeah, to
huge.
be there at the right time, you have to keep showing up. That's the perseverance part. Yeah.
Yes,
But I love
absolutely.
capturing that it is, no, how do I phrase it? Luck can only work when you're prepared.
Yeah,
So I think that's where you're coming from. And saying luck, it's okay because it is kind of like that.
yeah,
I like the word serendipity as well. That sort of magical feeling of everything coming together at the same time that you need it to. So no, I love where you're coming from on all this. All right. Courtney, anything that I'm leaving out?
I feel like you really covered all of it, actually. I was going to say something similar. Yeah, I feel like just being so prepared will help you in that moment where you are in the right place in the right time. And just constantly saying yes, like say yes to those interviews that you know you don't want because they're practice. Say yes to like a peer review because it helps you learn maybe what you should do differently with your own portfolio. But like saying yes and being consistent, and then ultimately luck.
So peer review for me, just this semester started um peer career coaches that can
Oh,
give
cool.
feedback on resume and portfolio. So after you're done with school, where would you be able to pick up something like a peer review? Do you keep a circle of people that you trust that you can show things to?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think having a mentor is really important. Constantly staying in touch with people who've walked the path before you is like beyond helpful. People have been through this, people will continue to go through this job seeking. And so, whatever you can learn from others and then also repay them with doing a peer review on their portfolio, everyone's there to help each other, I think, at the end of the day. So, it's really important to like keep tabs with everyone and can maintain those connections.
Yeah, you just put your finger on, I think, something that's lovely that you captured with Pay It Forward. So I know with you, I helped you connect to alums while you were a student, and now you're an alum and you're connecting back to students. So again, just I love this whole idea of staying in touch with peers. And Ben, what about you? Are you sort of in that same community of people that you trust and stay in touch with?
absolutely. I have, you know, a lot of the friendships, obviously, you have um, similar interests, similar perspectives. Showing your work to the people around you, I think, is very important. And I think once you get into a professional environment, constantly having critique, feedback with whatever you're working on is very important. It's something that my coworkers and I do pretty much every day. We have to be in the office every day, which don't love, but I love that. I mean, it's very collaborative, and I'm working with some people that are so talented. I can't even understand how they learned this stuff, and it kind of drives you to be better.
Oh,
And I think just connecting with people whose opinion you value and getting their perspective, even if they aren't, if you're doing graphic design, even if they aren't exactly a graphic designer, um, getting their perspective on it and being able to explain what you're doing to somebody who maybe doesn't do that exactly is also very valuable. So
yeah,
let's talk to anybody, maybe.
love it. Thank you so much, both of you. Um, so we've already touched on this, obviously, but what other advice would you give to job seekers? And Courtney, I'm going to jump over to you. It's like, oh my gosh, if I could tell anything, this is what I would say.
Yeah, I think what I didn't realize upon graduating, that I learned very quickly was that the learning never stops and you will constantly be learning new things, and that is really exciting. So I think it's worth it to embrace that, to pick up a continuing ed course if you think you need help in a certain, area of your market, or to continue your creative path outside of work in more like unique means. I just think you constantly need to be evolving, and that's really important.
Oh, love it. Yeah. Thank. But what would you want to tell them?
I think being patient is very important. Um, One thing I noticed, to jump from school to not being in school, it's very, there is a set pace that you're moving at constantly at school. First semester, second semester, break, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of have that rhythm. But once you get out, those pillars, those kind of lanes don't really exist anymore. So things go really at their own pace. So really just being patient and really believing in what you're doing is very important. And the second thing I would say is, if you want to do something, whether that be fashion design, accessories design, music design, you can do it. You can find people who want to do that stuff too and work with them. I mean, so much of the work that I built my portfolio on was friends and other people that were making music that didn't have any money. And I'm like, I'll do it. And I got to do it how I wanted to do it. And I was really proud of that work. So just always staying true to what you want to do and being able to make it, I think is also very important.
This is amazing. Um, so before we get to any final thoughts, I want to open this up to the students who are actually on the call with us. And if you have any specific questions for Courtney and Ben, if you could drop them in the chat, that would be amazing. Um, and before we even get to final thoughts from the two of you, Ben, you mentioned your final project and that it was based on literally branding your grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it. Uh, and Courtney, I also, of course, remember yours. Are you okay with like telling us
Yeah.
a little bit about that project and what was the inspiration?
Yeah, sure. That was, gosh, it feels so long ago. That was awesome. I designed a collection of athletic apparel based on my hometown, actually. So I'm from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, which is a suburb right outside of Detroit. And the suburb kind of gained recognition for putting up these barriers that kept out Detroit. And it was a very pointed statement that they put in these barriers, establishing their socioeconomic differences. There was a lot of intensity to that. And as an active runner growing up, I was never allowed to run past those barriers. So I made an athletic apparel capsule to bring light to those barriers and propose they not exist through the different patterns that I put onto the garments themselves.
I gotta say, I mean, obviously I see a lot of student work, but that IP project was just so memorable, and the the clothing themselves was great to look at. But knowing what the inspiration was as somebody now who's been in Southeast Michigan for 30 years, oh yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. I love where inspiration comes from. Ben, any final thoughts that you think would be helpful for job search job seekers right now?
Final thoughts. Did we do that one? Did I get final thoughts?
Yeah,
What
but
are what are my final thoughts?
just in case you have anything else to add.
I don't know. I saw. What is my? I don't know. I feel like I said. I mean, just doing what you want to make, I think, is really important.
Yeah,
And just
perfect. Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
standing behind the things you like is important
Yeah.
too.
Just making
Mm.
sure that we're, anything else. And Courtney, how about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just to echo everything, like don't give up. Just keep persevering. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work, and it's really going to take a village because I think it's always about the seventh or eighth connection to the connection you've talked to. Like it's going to be a process, but be scrappy and be prepared and lean on your village to help you because everyone's here to help.
Yeah. So Ben, you have a question from Aranza in the chat. I'm going to read it out loud so that anybody who's watching the recording knows. I am working toward building up an apparel graphics portfolio and was wondering if you had any specific advice for that field. I know that knowing how to create a tech pack is an essential skill and was wondering if there's any more advice on how to learn more.
Absolutely. Tech packs are very important. I have to tech pack all of my designs at Kith actually. And when I was interviewed and asked if I could tech pack, I said absolutely. And I had never tech packed before. So you can learn things after school. I knew that sounds crazy, but I knew how to do it in theory. But I think familiarizing yourself with Pantone standards, that's really important. That was something I wish I had known before. I was kind of thrust into that difference between a coded PMS and a TCX color. I mean, this is how things get made, and it's definitely vital to know that. When I was in college, I worked for a screen printer in New Jersey, which wouldn't fully recommend. It's very labor intensive, not more labor intensive than I thought. But I learned everything about printing t-shirts and what the capabilities are and everything that goes into doing it. I mean, you could make any design really, but how it gets printed, it can completely change the outcome of it. And I guess my last bit of advice was to if you have an idea for something, you should, make it. And you can make renderings all the time that look like they're real and they're not, but they look real. And it's fun to make it look real. So just have it reflect yourself and the things that you like, I think is important.
Love it. Thank you. Question for both of you from Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. If I am someone who works with video animation and graphic design, how should I organize a portfolio since I have a few different forms of media I want to showcase? Or should my portfolio focus on the one media I am applying for in a position? Either one of you, jump right in.
Sure, I'll take this one. I feel like it's really important to show all the different work that you've done. Not everything, because you do need to take a critical eye at your work and show the best pieces for sure. But I do think showing your graphic design can help inform how you will be an animator, or showing your video work can help inform, the animation jobs that you're applying to. So I think putting your best foot forward with your best projects all within one format, maybe not separated by type of work, but just separated by project, could be really a good way to have a flow.
Yeah, yeah. And then thoughts on how do you present, hi, I'm a multidisciplinary creator.
Definitely making sure it's curated is important. Really, anything that you think is like showcases your skill set and showcases your attention to detail and passion, I think will go a long way. I don't know, I feel like if it's on a website, if you do a website portfolio, you can just have different tabs and just kind of have it separated by project and whatever different thing it is. But you're also at a point where I don't think it has to be so segmented. I think if everything showcases the passion and the attention to detail, I think that is more important than if things are separated. Maybe I think it's better to segment things like a resume. I think that's where you can make different resumes for different jobs you're applying for.
Sure.
But as far as portfolio goes, the best, whatever do you like the best and you think is the best to have.
Yeah, yeah. I love this. Oh, thanks, Ellie. One of the things, obviously, that I see with STEM students, because we are so interdisciplinary, is getting students to think about who is the recipient, what would they want to be seen. And from my perspective with Ellie, I think what I would want to have is a landing page rather than just a lot of images of projects, because that just gets very confusing. But a landing page that gave me a menu, could be left-hand navigation, could be top navigation. But if I'm, applying for graphic design, I would actually submit the link specifically to that part of my website. And then if somebody wanted to see my video and animation, they could then go to those other parts of the site. What do you think about that? Like really having these categories, but send the link to the part that you want them to see first.
Hmm.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that could work as well. I did find when applying, because I also had this problem when I was applying to roles where I didn't know if I was going to do graphic design or textile design or aim for fashion. And I found that actually compiling a PDF to send in the same document as my resume sometimes worked because people don't spend a ton of time looking at your resume and portfolio. It's a quick couple minutes. So if you want them to see something very specific, you should show them that thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lots of ways to think about when you're multi-talented, multifaceted with your creativity. You want people to know that, but you don't want them to get turned off by looking at things they're not interested in. So I love all of these ideas of like, okay, how can I get them to see what I want first, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so then Courtney, gosh, I think it's been like 5 years maybe
So long.
since I
Yeah.
awesome. I love seeing you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk and give back some great advice to students who have obviously are about to step into your shoes. So this is great. I am stopping the recording.